Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
Well, Dahlby, we're past the. My earplug comes out already, and the show's 12 seconds in. We're past getting cards left in my car or stuff sent to me in the mail. So, to honor the milestone of show number 18, I have decided to. Let me see if I can do this without looking like an idiot. I'm wearing my Peyton Manning autographed jersey. Greatest quarterback in Indianapolis Colts history, because Andrew Luck, who probably would have surpassed him, quit. And I don't like quitters. So this is show 18, Dahlby.
18 holes of golf, which you played last week, right?
I did, and we'll talk about that later in the program. It was almost a historic event that came down to a few missed putts, a couple of lip outs, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But, and since you just brought that up, 18 holes, do you miss having the numbers on the flags? Like when you played number 1, it had a 1, 2, 3, whatever, 15 had a 15. Nowadays, they don't have numbers on the flags, and I miss that. How about you?
You know what? I guess I've never thought of it too much. I guess I don't miss it. But even at Phoenix Country Club where I'm at, there's not even on the tee boxes a number of the hole, and that to me seems a little bit strange. And you grew up there, but you go to the first tee, there's nothing that says 1. You go to you could go to 10, and you could mistake that for 1 because they sit right next to each other. But that's the interesting thing. When they do the Champions Tour event there, obviously they put a number down. But I guess private club, you expect your members to know where they're going, and if they bring a guest, they're gonna take care of the guest. So I guess that's why there's no numbers on the holes at Phoenix. But it's kind of it is interesting that you think about that though. It used to be that all the holes, all the flags had the number of the hole. So they've changed that now.
Now it's like red, blue, white, yellow, green. I mean, whatever each course. I like the old traditional numbers. I mean, the U.S. Open, I think, still does. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they don't anymore. I don't know. I missed that. But, now it's all color coordinated, and the guy on the starter on the first tee tells you that we're playing, whatever pin positions there are for the day. And you have to look for, the red, blue. It's different back then, today. Before we get started with this beautiful program, talking about sad news happened yesterday in the world of golf. And this is not a political show, and we're not going to get into that. But Lee Elder passed away yesterday. Stomped his ground and stomped his feet on the PGA Tour, becoming, one of the first African American players ever to play in the PGA Tour, be successful in the PGA Tour. Was named an honorary starter last year at Augusta. We all remember, wheeled him out with the oxygen. It was sad to see. It was great to see that golf finally. Or Augusta National gave him the moment. Truly a legend as far as African Americans playing golf. It's different nowadays. Now when you have Tiger, but Lee Elder, Dahlby was one of the first guys ever to be that guy for the African Americans on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, one of the trailblazers, and obviously when you talk about the trailblazers, Charlie Sifford was the first black guy to play on the PGA Tour, and then Lee Elder was the first black person to qualify for the Masters, won a PGA Tour event, and you think about those years and you think about Augusta National at that time, times have changed, and I think they're changing for the better. But those guys had to go through some stuff that the rest of the golfers didn't have to go through. I was reading a little bit about Lee Elder. When he went to a tournament, he would actually a lot of times rent 2 places, and he would go back and forth. And if he went to eat, he made sure he went with people. There's the stories of Sifford. His first tournament he tried to qualify was, I think, the 1952 Phoenix Open, and in the qualifier, catching just terrible racial slurs, and there's the story that he reached down in the hole, and there was stuff in the hole that shouldn't have been there. That's not only did they have to play good golf to get on the PGA Tour, but they also had to, deal with a lot of crap that probably shouldn't have happened. And so it is a sad day, but it was nice this last April that Lee Elder was honored at Augusta. I got to see him. I was having lunch at Torrey Pines during the U.S. Open, and he was there that day, and just happened to be. I started leaving from lunch, and I looked down, and Lee Elder was sitting there, and so it was kind of cool to see him and say hello. And he was known as a gentleman. Won I think 4 times on the PGA Tour, won a few times on the Champions Tour, and it's a sad day, but it's a day to celebrate the things that the generations before did to open up the game and promote the game for everybody, and promote private clubs in the South opening up their doors to everybody. So it's a sad day, but in a way it's a day to celebrate.
I told myself I was not going to watch the match. Okay, there was no freaking way I was watching this thing. I watched it. And Phil and Charles Barkley controlled the whole deal in this match. And I actually liked it. I liked it for the fact that it was only 9 holes, because Bryson hadn't played in 2 months, which, I mean, a fucking break, Bryson. I mean, it's a big deal. You have to do this thing. Go practice or whatever. Don't blame it on, I haven't played in 2 months. But I like the reaction and the comments that Phil and Koepka talking about during the whole thing. I thought it was very enjoyable. And like I said, the fact it was only 9 holes was even better. Did you watch it?
I didn't get to watch it because I was actually I think I was working that day. Shocker. And
Shocking is right.
I heard that, but I was getting reports that Koepka was way up, because it was supposed to be a 12-hole match, right? But he cleaned it out. It was done 12. And then they played. I did turn it on and saw where they.
It was done by 9, even though the official score was 4-3, but DeChambeau gave him the 9th hole, and whatever, it goes down as a 4-3. But yeah, it was 12-hole match, which to me was weird to begin with. But Koepka just absolutely just stomped his ass.
Yeah, and I did see the last. I think I saw the last 2 holes where they were just doing it for charity, and that's the nice thing about this match. Whether you're a fan of it, or if you think it's dumb, we are in the silly season of golf, they call it. But I saw the long drive hole where Bryson wanted extra shots to try to hit a good drive, and then he caught that last one. I don't know how far he hit it, 400 and some yards. Was it 407 or something like that? And
something like that. I don't know the number.
But the nice thing was, he's like, okay, I'll give another $50,000 for charity if you let me hit another one. And so that was good. And I think Barkley's hilarious, and he's great on a show like that. He's fun. He loves golf. He's struggled. We followed his struggles with his golf swing. He's actually now playing better, and he doesn't have that hitch, which is kind of nice. And I think that's been over a year now that he's gotten rid of that. And and Phil's Phil. Phil likes to talk, but he was insightful in many ways and had some fun with the guys. So it was good. But you could still see, and Koepka's personality is just, he doesn't smile very much, and he's a very confident person about his golf.
I thought before the thing started, and I didn't know that Bryson hadn't played in 2 months, and whether I believe it or not, and I really don't, I thought Bryson had the upper edge in this match. I didn't make a wager on it. I did not, and I repeat, did not make a wager on this match. But you could tell that Brooks Koepka came to this match with the fiery attitude that he has in major championships. There was no way that he wasn't going to win this match just by watching what I saw. The only way he was going to win this match is if Bryson would have punched him in the face on like number 6 or 7 and knocked him out, because Brooks wasn't losing. He wasn't losing. He knew, he watched, he heard, he listened to all the people saying that he has no chance of winning this match. And I think he actually put it into an extra gear and put some more practice into it. He switched clubs to Srixon, which blew me away. But anyway, he's been playing him for a couple of years. I just didn't have an endorsement with him. But he wasn't going to lose. I mean, you could tell after the first hole, you could have just been like, yeah, this is over. Brooks Koepka is beating DeChambeau, which I like the banter between everybody. And you didn't see Bryson talk very much, but you saw Koepka talk a lot, when it was in his cart or whatever. He was enjoying it. He enjoyed kicking the shit out of Bryson DeChambeau, and I thought it was actually funny.
Yeah, and Bernie, what were the odds going into it? I know you said you didn't make a bet, but who was the favorite?
So DeChambeau was the favorite. Earlier in the week, and it happened on Friday, earlier in the week, DeChambeau, I think, was a $1.40 favorite. When they got to the first tee, DeChambeau was only a $1.20 favorite. So the public, and the public is usually wrong. That's why there's so many hotels and so many escalators in Vegas, is because the public never wins. But the public was right this time, and I wanted to bet Bryson. I did, and as much as I can't stand the guy, I just couldn't pull the trigger, and I told myself, like I said, I wasn't going to watch it, but I watched it, and I actually was rooting for Koepka after the first hole, and I'm not a big Koepka fan either, but yeah, I was rooting for him.
Do we think this has overstayed its welcome now?
Yes.
Because that's where I'm at with this. It's Brooks and Bryson, and that was fun, but they kind of made up at the Ryder Cup, and so it didn't really have the same kind of feel to it as it probably could have if they were still bickering the way they were 6 months ago. But this is a far cry from the Tiger Phil betting on holes in the middle of everything, and it's just not the same to me. And it's fun, and it's for charity, and I'm not diminishing it because it's a good time. But this could really be like a big market appeal to like the casual golf fan, and I just don't think it has that anymore.
And I can't disagree with you, Shu. But let's be realistic here. When Phil and Tiger were betting on holes or whatever, it wasn't their money. It was this was Capital One, the match or whatever. It was sponsorship that was doing that. I mean, we all know the stories about Tiger and how he probably isn't the greatest tipper or whatever, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but I am, I guess. But it wasn't their money. It was, when they were betting $100,000 on a hole back then, Shu, and you're right, they were betting $50,000 or what. It wasn't their money. It was somebody else's money. It was a corporate sponsor that was putting the money up, and they got credit for it later. But yeah, I think this was. To me, it was enjoyable to watch, but it's nothing that I'm going to pay-per-view. And you remember when the Tiger Phil thing was a pay-per-view event. I mean, pay-per-view, everybody paid for it, nobody could get on, and all the cable companies actually gave their money back to you, and you were still able to watch it. So, yeah, I don't care if it ever happens again, to be honest with you. Dahlby, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, and I would say, I think it was I think when it was Tiger Phil, and even though it wasn't their money, still, if it's $100,000 for the hole and then the next one's two or whatever, I think there was some excitement in that. And then I think you kind of looking back, I've enjoyed when there's been partners, and I enjoyed when watching Tom Brady and was Manning, right? They went at it with partners, and I think that was kind of cool. That brings maybe a little, brings a little more interest right now. I think this one, like Shu said, if the feud was still going on, if the feud was really going on still, then it's one thing. But they did. They hugged it out at the Ryder Cup. Now, when they did ask at the end, they asked Koepka, are you guys best buddies now? And Koepka was absolutely, it was a pretty resounding no. But they're never going to be best of friends. But I don't think there's going to be all the nonsense that was going on over the last year or so that we saw. So I think if they're going to do it again, maybe go back to teams or do something with a little different interest to make it a little more appealing. This is, like I said, this is the silly season, and I wasn't too interested. I heard that it was going Koepka's way, so I did turn it on at the end, but if I don't watch a lot of the golf right now, it's not gonna. If I miss some of it, it's not gonna change my day.
Speaking of Tiger and Phil, so Tiger, we talked about it last week on this program, came out with a video that went completely ballistic viral. He came out today. He had an interview with Golf Digest, and he said that I'll never be the same. And I thought that was a pretty surreal moment. That we're always gonna see or think of Tiger. I'm not talking about off the course. I don't care about that. You can have people can have their judgment on his personal life off the golf course. But as far as on the golf course, and you can bring Nicklaus in, I don't care. Tiger's, in my mind, the greatest player that's ever played the game. And he said that I'm not going to be able to be basically Tiger. And I give him credit for saying that. Now, I don't know if he's lowering the expectations of you or I, or the people that watch this, or people, the fan of the game of golf. But I think he's come to the realization now in his 40s that, after, this car accident, a year ago in February, that he's only going to play a few tournaments. Now, we watched, at the end of his career, Ben Hogan did the same thing. Ben Hogan only played tournaments that he thought he could be competitive in, because basically he didn't want to embarrass himself. And I think maybe that's the avenue that Tiger's going. And I'll give him credit for saying it. But like I said, he's lowering the expectations. So if all of a sudden Tiger becomes Tiger of old, everybody's going to jump through the hoop in a hurry.
Yeah, and I think, Bernie, the thing is, there is probably a realist to that look, and Tiger hasn't been, in my opinion, Tiger hasn't been Tiger for a long, long time. There's been a couple moments, and hopefully there's another moment or two for him. Obviously, the last Masters win kind of came unexpected, but he's not the dominant player that he was. He's never going to be the dominant player that he was. But hopefully there's a couple more moments in the sun for him. I don't know. The thing that he's going to have a hard time right now is he's always played a very powerful game. He's got a great short game, but he's always played power golf. He was the longest off the tee when he dominated. He's always been pretty long off the tee. The speed, I'm sure, is not going to be there, and so he's not going to be able to compete with the distance like he used to. And so it's going to have to be maybe certain courses, maybe certain tournaments. It's going to be, being a cagey athlete. And there's a lot of, if Augusta National, that could be a golf course that he makes some noise on for the next few years, because we've seen it happen before. Nicholas at 46 years old. You think about not winning the tournament at later stages, but you look at a Fred Couples, who always sort of seems to put a good number up at Augusta. Bernard Longer, just a few years ago was up on the leaderboard on a Sunday. Tom Watson played well there into his ages. So there's going to be certain tournaments that Tiger, I think, can compete, but it's not going to be on some of these golf courses there where it's just bomb it and wedge it. I think that's going to be the hard ones for him. He's going to have to pick and choose his courses a little bit and rely a little bit on the wedge and the putter, I think.
Does any player, before you and I pass away, whatever year that might be, does any player on the PGA Tour, and I'll just throw this number out, does any player ever get to 40 career wins ever again on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. I don't know who that could be. Could it be one of the young guns now? Could it be Morikawa? Could it be, someone that's in college right now? Probably. There's probably a junior golfer right now that'll come up and but I know what you're saying, Bernie, that the talent level is such that it's hard to win multiple times on the PGA Tour, and then if you're gonna get to 40, you got to win multiple times for a good bit of time. But I would guess that there's some player out there, but that player might be 5 years old right now, and hopefully we'll be around to see it. It would be great if that happens, because I think it's fun when there's a dominant player. I don't know that we have that right now. I wouldn't say that we do, but it'd be fun to see somebody go out there and win 6 or 8 times in a season. But I don't know. It might be. I don't know that we have that player right now. Do you think?
The reason I asked that question, no. The reason I ask you that question is my answer is no. If you think about it, so okay, let's bring Morikawa, whatever he's got, 5, 6, 7 wins. Okay, so that's, you got to get 33 more wins. Okay, that's 33 to get to 40. So that's, if you win twice a year on the PGA Tour, is an accomplishment. And I know people are like, oh, he's won 3 times before, he's won 4 times, you can do it again. It's not that. It goes back to what you just said, Dahlby, is the fact that there's so much talent, there's so much grouping. It's not a separation. Tiger dominated the PGA Tour because he's Tiger. Back in the day with Nicklaus, there was 4 guys, 5 guys. You had Nicklaus, you had Player, Trevino, Palmer, a couple other guys. It was a group of 6 or 7. Now you look at a field at a normal PGA Tour event. It's not the fall season, but come in January or whatever, when everybody starts playing again, and you look at the field and you look down the list and you're like, yeah, there's 40, 50 guys that can win a tournament. When back in the day, it was only 6 or 7, and even when Tiger played. And I'm not taking away from David Duval and Tom Lehman. I'm not taking away from those guys, but the field was basically top heavy of 8 or 9 guys. And then today, the golf is, like I said, 40, 50, 60 guys, 70 guys, 80 guys. It's harder. I don't see, and I've been wrong many times in my life. I don't see anybody ever getting to 40. I really don't. I mean, you look at, Dustin Johnson with 21, 22, whatever he's got right now. And I mean, he's getting up in age. I mean, I don't think he can ever possibly get to 40. I mean, but you might be right. It might be somebody that's 5 years old right now playing at Top Golf, and that's the next kid that we're going to see, and I'll be in my 70s by the time he gets to 5 wins.
Yeah, Morikawa has played. I mean, he's played 2 full seasons or 2 full years. Let's say he's played all of 20, all of 21. His first tournament was the Canadian Open in 19, so that's probably July. So let's call that a half a year. So in 2.5 years, he's won 5 times. Now, he's very young, and maybe his best years are to come. That's the other thing, and we talked about it last week. Bernie is a player. Is a Rory McIlroy kind of done? And I kind of thought a little bit, I guess you'd say, that it's going to be hard for him to get back on that pedestal that he was, a few years ago, because it's hard to come back. And so what you're talking about, Bernie, is a player that has a sustained dominance of play for, say, at 8-10 years, and that would be winning 4 or 5 times, and that's harder than hell to do. So yeah, you may be right, but it's just, I guess I would never underestimate that there's somebody coming, but you just never know. I guess, and that's why in some ways it's great to be involved in the game, because you don't know what's going to happen. But to your point, there are guys on the PGA Tour, and we talk about Troy Merritt a lot because I coach Troy. Troy's ranked about 100th in the world, and he's probably, he's probably the quietest player that's ranked 100th in the world. No one knows that he's 100th in the world or better. But Troy's won twice. The last 3 seasons, he's had, a runner-up finish in the last 3. So he's a guy that every year is probably going to have a chance, or, he's going to have a handful of chances to win a tournament. And maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. In the last 3 years, we haven't got a win. But when he does win, not that he's taking a win away from Colin Morikawa, and Morikawa beat him 1 year in Reno, but it's like, it's hard because you have a lot of those Troy Merritts that are out there that are capable of winning once or twice a season. And, if you're trying to get 4 or 5 or 6 wins in a season, it's hard because there's a bunch of Troy Merritts out there.
And that's a great point. And I know you bring up Merritt because you teach him, but there's so many. You're right. There's so many Troy Merritts out there, and there's so many guys that a lot of people, they know the name, they just they don't know really how good they are. And if somebody's watching this, and I hope a lot of people do, thank you. The fine folks at Burrito Express actually thank you as well. You go look at 75 to 150 in the world golf rankings, and you're going to be like, yeah, he's good. God, he's really good. Yeah, he's good. So, and my final point on this is going to be, and you brought up Morikawa, and we'll just use him again as an example. These guys are only playing 18 to 23 events every year now. I mean, you look at Fowler. I'm just talking about, like, Fowler had a kid, Spieth had a kid. Now these young guys that are 23, 24, 22, 25 are having kids. So instead of playing 26, 27, 28 events a year, now they're playing 21, 22. Some not playing as much. That's why I think it's going to be hard for to win 4 times in a year. And and if we're doing the show, it'll be show 70. If we do this 52 weeks from now, it'll be show 70. I'll have to come up with a prop for that. I don't see if you told me that Morikawa won 4 times or somebody else won 4 times, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see it. They're that good. But it's just, I think that the tour is so hard now. It's so hard for these guys to even keep their card on the PGA Tour now, let alone win 4 times.
Yeah, and so and it's a deep talent level right now, and you look at it at every level. You look at it, obviously there's guys that are able to keep their PGA Tour status every season. There's so much talent on the Korn Ferry Tour. There's great talent in college golf, and these college kids are now, once they get done, they're trying to figure out a way to get to the Korn Ferry Tour, and that there's talent on the Latin America Tour, the Canadian Tour. So it's it's a great job when you're up there and you can keep your status for a few years, but it's a difficult job to, as you say, dominate the sport. And I was just thinking, as we were talking about, there's also these guys that are maybe, I'm not talking about Tiger, but when I said, maybe he's got a couple more days in the sun, there's guys like Matt Kuchar. And I know, Bernie, you're not a fan of Matt Kuchar, but you'd think, he's probably got another win or two in his, maybe, if he plays at, if he plays well at Hilton Head, and you can say that, but I'm just saying there's probably one or two more wins where, maybe some of these guys that you're talking about trying to work their way up, he takes their wins in a way, because there's guys, and there might be, there's a bunch of those 45-year-old guys that can still maybe for a week sneak one.
Like a Zach Johnson, Henrik Stenson, guys like that. I mean, I get where you're going with this. Yeah, well, we'll just have to see. We'll check back at show 70 in 52 weeks. Some big news today, and I want to talk about this with you because we've talked about it previously, but when we had a radio show, is players changing equipment and signing these big endorsement deals. And I know that Brooks has been playing Strixon for the last year and a half or so, the irons, and he officially came out last week and signed this big endorsement deal, and everybody, whether it's Graham McDowell, who's also a member of Strixon, welcome to the team. What are your thoughts now that and it's different than it used to be. It used to be that the season, ran until October with the tournament at East Lake, and then we didn't have anything until January. Now with the wraparound season and things like that, the tour begins their calendar year earlier. Thoughts about guys changing equipment, getting the money, changing balls, getting the money. Is it advantageous for them to do that, or are they being greedy by changing equipment and stuff like that?
Well, I don't think you can blame. I don't think you can blame a golfer for, taking getting a great deal with a different company and thinking about it, because, unlike a lot of the sports, unlike baseball players or football players, basketball players, you don't know as a golfer how long you're going to be able to be out there. And there's no guarantees. You got to go out and play and earn your living. And I'm not saying that, like Brooks Koepka, we expect that he's going to be just fine, and he's probably is just fine. But compared to, not LeBron James, but somebody that's a very, very, the 10th best NBA player, probably has a
Devin Booker. So I don't know what Devin makes, but I'm assuming some of it's guaranteed, and so if someone wants to change, equipment, I'm not gonna argue with that. As a coach, I might, like Strixon, the only thing I would say, and I don't know much about Strixon, I'm sure the clubs are just fine, but if you're changing from a Titleist to a Strixon ball, that could have an effect on your ability to play. And that is the one thing that I've talked to sometimes, and I guess is the flip side of what I just said, is, you can also stick with the equipment that is going to perform and then make it up with good play. But again, I'm not going to blame somebody if they, if someone offers you $10 million to, switch golf clubs, you might think about it. And so, that's okay. The big thing I think is the ball club makers make pretty good stuff right now. I think the ball is the interesting one. And what was the ball that Bubba Watson, was it the Volvic? Yeah.
And it was, it was the Volvic ball, and he switched to that. And for him, he wasn't able to maneuver the ball like he can with, I don't know. Does he play Titleist normally?
Yeah, he's back to Titleist now. I think the best thing about the Volvic when he switched was the fact that it was a pink ball, green, yellow, blue. To where, if you were back when I caddied, we always went to the first tee and, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. We're playing a, Titleist 4. And then, the guy's like, we're playing a Max Fly or it was so long ago, maybe a Top Flight. I'm kidding. But you wouldn't have to ask Bubba because he was playing the colored ball and he played it for a year. And he got paid. He got paid to play that ball, and his game struggled. It sucked because of the ball. So it goes back to the point you're just saying that, and I get it. I mean, when you got a player like a Koepka, who's top 5, top 10 in the world, whatever you want to call him, I don't care. You would think that a player of that caliber, it wouldn't matter if they were hitting, whatever iron they're hitting or whatever wood, that you would think that talent could be able to still be the same player. But your point, and you're 100% right, I can't disagree with you at all, and I won't even try, is the fact when you switch balls and go to the Volvic, and every time I hear the word Volvic, I remember the old ball back in the day, Dahlby Slazenger. Slazenger had that ball.
With the big cat on it.
You could hit that thing. You could hit that thing dead nuts in this, and it would go like 20 yards right or 15 yards left. That's what I always think of that Volvic ball. So my whole point is that I'm okay with like a Koepka doing that, but you see guys middle of the road. Guys 100th on the money list, guys 125th, or guys that barely kept their card, and a company comes and says, hey, we're going to give you $150,000 more than the company that you're using now to carry our bag and play our irons. And like you said, job security is very important on the PGA Tour. And a lot of these guys make the changes, and the next thing you know, you don't hear from them ever again.
Yeah, and I think especially with the younger players, I think the younger players sometimes can get enticed into making switches, or even if you're with a certain company, it's like, okay, well, try this newest one, and then we came up with another one, or let's go in the truck and we'll make you another one, and all of a sudden you kind of, especially with the newer players, you have to be careful with making wholesale changes. I think if there's a good college player that made his way onto the Korn Ferry and then worked his way onto the PGA Tour, I would suggest that you don't do a lot with equipment. Let's play with what got you there, and then we can always make changes if need be. And there's been times with players where the equipment companies and they want their guys playing the newest equipment. There's been a few times where I've suggested that my players, maybe who have tried the newer irons, go back to the older iron, and because you just know what control you have with that ball a little bit more than the newer stuff. And so probably doesn't always make me the biggest fan of the equipment company if I'm going to do that, but I'm going to, that's something that I have done in the past. I've done it, I think, 3 or 4 times.
Well, yeah, it's all about performance. It's not about. I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't know what Troy made this year, and he probably made a couple $1 million. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but there's a point where, and I think you're right with the younger kids that are 20, 21, 22, or whatever, and their eyes light up like, what? You're going to give me how much to play this? Yeah, I'll play this thing. Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I'll shit can the clubs I played that made me here, and I'll play this for $500,000 a year. And all of a sudden, they're in this contract. They're in a contract, and all of a sudden they're stuck with this. Their game is struggling. They can't figure it out. They want to go to the garage and get the old set of clubs, but they can't because they signed on the dotted line for this company for X amount of dollars, and they're screwed.
Yeah, no, and that's where once you sign that contract and I'm hopefully for Brooks, and I'm sure if he's played the clubs for a couple years, he knows that they work for his game. I didn't know that he had played them for a while, so when I heard it, I was surprised. But I'm sure he's fine with them. But you take you take somebody that's played pings for all their lives, and then you switch that player to a blade-like golf club. Well, that would be a big switch, right?
Absolutely.
So all of a sudden, and then you might not be able to go back, or you got to wait for the contract to run out to go back. And so and that would be the thing. You played pings all your life. Now you get a contract and you're playing Mizuno blades, or and they're totally different looking club. And then you've got a 3-year agreement. Well, in that 3 years, if things don't go well, you might be gone forever.
Yeah, you're right. You're out of a job. You've lost your card, and you're, and we're going to have him on here. I've already talked to him. We're having him on the next couple of weeks. You're going to be Monday Q's. You're going to be at Monday Q's trying to get to the, whatever Corn Ferry. But I think greed sometimes is too much for people. And if you're successful with what got you to this point, and it's specifically golf, I'm not talking about anything else, specifically golf. If you've made it from here to there to here, and then you decide, all this money, I think that's a bad decision, because in the long run, there's much money, and especially now with the PGA Tour coming out and saying now that all these purses are going to be astronomical, even more. I mean, you're a fool, in my opinion, to take, and I'm going to use the number, you're a fool to take $1 million, and I'm sure people are going to rip me to shreds, to take $1 million to change equipment and to struggle. I just think it's crazy, especially with how much they're out there in this game. I want to change subjects. A couple of things before we go. The Tuesday match last week was an absolute ass kicking. Adam Blanker and myself played the guys from Burrito Express, Angel and Marco, and I'll give Marco credit. Mark, we call him Mark. He just got done winning the Dobson Ranch Club Championship on Sunday. And now he has a day to party, and we get him at 9:20 Tuesday morning at Talking Stick. First of all, they're late to the tee time, so they met us in the first fairway. We let them drop. And we were up 9-0 after 9. Okay, I won 6 points for us on the 9th hole. Then that's the highlight of the round. But my partner, Adam Blanker, had a lip out on 15. Another, I don't know how I didn't go in 16 either. A missed putt on 17 that should have gone in, and a great putt on 18 to shoot 80. I told him I'd give him 10 minutes of credit of this. I'm only going to give him about 3. But we kicked the shit out of Burrito Express, and the first thing they could say to us when we got finished was, we want a rematch immediately. We offered them a rematch this week, and they passed.
Well.
They passed.
Well. If you want the rematch immediately and now you passed.
That is correct. Well. Now, Chris Schubert, if you and I were in a battle of something and you came to me or I came to you when we finished whatever the battle was, and I said that I want a rematch immediately, and I came to you and I said we'll do it next week, and you passed, what do you think I would think?
Yeah, listen, they're the sponsors of the show, so what I'm about to say here might get us into some trouble.
Okay.
But this is some cowardly stuff that's happening right here. Okay.
You gotta play.
You ask for a rematch, and then you're offered the opportunity for a rematch, and you say no, thank you. Oh, that's cowardly. It's cowardly.
And I don't want to put a black marker over this presented by Burrito Express that everybody's looking at, because I actually had burritos there yesterday. Seriously, and it was. This place is packed. I don't know how. I understand there's a shortage of workers in the restaurant industry for sure. This place, they had 5 workers, and they were running around with their heads cut off because this place is packed. The food is so good. So honestly, if you get and you like burritos and you like breakfast burritos, this place is great. It's quick, it's efficient, it's always consistent. So our good friends at Burrito Express, even though they passed. That's what he said in the text. We passed this week, but we'll meet up with them again. There is golf this week, Dahlby. The Hero Challenge. I don't even know where it's being played this year.
That one.
Yeah, the Hero Challenge, and usually we do the Who You Got, and I'm just going to keep it up right now. Schubert still has the big lead. We're not going to do any of the silly season, as Dahlby calls it. We'll start up at the beginning of the year with the Sony Tournament of Champions, Century Tournament of Champions. Do you get? I know you didn't get excited about the match. Do you get excited about this stuff?
The thing that the Hero, now correct me if I'm wrong, do they get world ranking points for this?
Which is an absolute joke. It's a joke. Yeah, so they get world ranking points.
There's 24 players, right? 20-ish players.
Yeah, it's a joke that they get world ranking points.
The worst you're going to do is take 20th, and you're getting world ranking points. So I don't like that. I may watch a little bit, but maybe not. I may watch a little bit because I've got more time on my hand now. Because, Bernie, if I can say one thing, Christian McCaffrey can kiss my ass. Because he's done for the year. He is done for the year, and he messed up my world. Because I enjoy fantasy football. I really do. I enjoy it. I've only done it. Well, this is my third year. I'm going to be last because of Christian McCaffrey. I'm going into the losers bracket of the playoffs, which is embarrassing because the first 2 years I did pretty well. I won both. Won both years, and
you won twice.
He has ruined my experience this year. And
so let me ask you. So if you're up next year in this fantasy football, which I mean, I remember this 2 years ago, and you didn't even text me. You called me, and you're like, "Hey, I've never been in a fantasy football league. How does this thing work?" And that's how naive you were back then. And you won the first year, and I'm like, "How the hell does this guy win? I've been doing this thing forever." And then you win again last year. And then this year you get the injuries, and everybody gets the injuries, and I get it. Now, if you're in a position next year during your fantasy football league draft with your boys Streb and Merritt and Catman and all those guys, and Christian McCaffrey is staring you right in the face, are you going to pass?
Yeah, I'm passing.
Like Burrito Express?
Yes, I am passing like Burrito Express. I'm not taking a guy that's 5'8" and gets hurt all the time. And I know he's great. I know when he's played, it's been fun to watch him. But you kind of have to be careful with that. Now, I would have killed to have taken Derrick Henry, and he's hurt as well, so I probably would have struggled there. But it just wasn't my year. But I heard today he's out for the season, so I was hoping in these last 3 weeks to make a push and sneak in the back door of the playoffs with these guys and maybe scare them a little bit. But I'm heading to the losers bracket.
All right, guys.
It's kind of, Bernie. It's kind of like if you're playing in the member, and you're playing the member, and it's match play or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're down in the losers bracket. It's just it's deflating. So yeah, that's been my day.
I'm sorry you had a terrible day, bud. I really am.
So you know what? I might watch the Hero World Challenge because there's no football for me to watch. We'll see.
Well, maybe your wife had a big day buying stuff on Cyber Monday, and you can look at your bank account tomorrow and even be more upset, like I'm probably going to be tomorrow with my wife. All right, thanks to Shu. Always have a good trip back from the East Coast. Thanks to Sean Crespin, who, once again, this is show 18. Haven't heard from the guy in 18 plus 2 weeks, 20 weeks. Dahlby, great. Have a great week, buddy. We'll see you guys, everybody, next week on Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby, presented by our good friends at Burrito Express.
Hit them straight, everybody.